Yeah, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prison Break Raw. I'm your host, that one and only Big JD. Go ahead, give the channel, subscribe, share, at least some messages or comments. Hit that thumbs up for the like, notification bell to be informed on all episodes when they drop. Most importantly, be sure to share this around to your family, your friends, your coworkers, anywhere and everywhere you could share it on your social media platforms. Let's get this raw and uncut material out there to the millions that don't know we're here. Let's get the subscriber count up. Let's get locked into that YouTube algorithm so that we become more widely suggested. It is a national emergency. Martial law. Stay in your house. The military's patrolling the streets. All these bad things are coming your way, and guess what? You can't do shit except for sit on your bunk behind an impenetrable locked door in a penitentiary somewhere, and you're stuck like Chuck, and you're fucked. The main thing is not to panic. The one thing that I can't stress enough is if you are that worried about something like this occurring while you're in custody, the best thing for you to do is just to stay out of prison and not go to this place in the first place. I never stressed any of these issues in the past because I knew that the price that I was willing to pay, the risk I was willing to take for the game, was jails, institution, or death. And I don't mean to sound like AA, but I knew that that was the outcome. And I knew that there was a possibility that something like this can happen because I know all the policies and procedure and case law and law, maybe not case law, but law, regarding what happens in a situation like this. We're under attack. Or is it a zombie apocalypse? Or a pandemic or something? What do they do with the people in prison? You hear it all the time. People say they'll just lock the doors and throw gas down in the vents. They'll come by and shoot us all. I could guarantee you they're not going to shoot us all. You imagine how long that would take to shoot everybody in these places with the amount of manpower that they have, and it's chaos and panic, and probably some of these COs are like, fuck you, I'm out of here. I'm not wasting my time on this prison. I got to get home to my family. Then there's the old drop the gas canister down into the vents, and they'll just gas us all. I've heard that a million times too, but more than likely what would happen is they'll just leave. They'll leave us all in there to starve to death. That's probably going to be the outcome, and in which case, your best bet is to try to spend every waking moment trying to beat through that impenetrable door that you're not going to get out of if you're in a cell. If you're in a dorm or someplace like that, you have a chance. Enough of you get together, rip some of the bunks or something off, you could probably devise a battering ram and break through that door and get out into the main yard. And if the electrified fence is not on, if you even have one, you'll probably be able to get out of there. But if you're locked in a cell, you might as well just kiss your ass goodbye because you probably won't be able to get out of there. It's just the way it is. Them doors are rock solid, man. You are not getting through those things. So I always tell people in situations like this, and I get people that ask me all the time, people that are locked up, what happens to us if we're in here and this happens? Well, the main thing is not to panic. And you don't need to stock up on food and all that stuff like that because you're just prolonging the agony and the inevitable. I mean, it would probably be the easiest way out and the least painful to just end your life in a situation like that because you're not going to get out of there, and as the time goes on, you're just going to end up starving to death. And can you imagine dying a slow, painful, starving death? I mean, there's people in this world that could probably tell you about that have been on the brink of starvation and were brought back to life. But I can't imagine that'd be any kind of fun, considering the circumstances, knowing that you are stuck in there and the claustrophobia starts kicking in worse than at any other time before because you know that door will not open. They're gone. You watched them all run out of there. They all packed their shit and they're gone and they left you there. I always tell people, if you're that worried about being stuck in a prison during these situations, your best bet is to roll with the punches out here in the world. Live it day by day. And don't think that by cutting corners and hustling on the side that you can get away and avoid going to prison, because if you're any kind of worried about this, the best bet is to just stay out of there in the first place. I actually had the pleasure of being incarcerated in 3 different events that were pretty crazy. And we're going to talk about those right here and compare them to what could possibly be the fears of this coronavirus, because this whole coronavirus optical illusion that they're being pushed, they're only beefing it up because it's like I said, they don't like Trump. I mean, it doesn't take a libertarian to tell you that. They don't like the man, and they're going to do anything and everything to knock him off his square. So they're pumping this virus up, but this virus wasn't even close to the H1N1. That one was much worse. And that was on Obama's watch, and they downplayed it, and they're still downplaying it to this day. Imagine if that was Trump during the H1N1. You would think it was the fucking zombie apocalypse. But it wasn't. It was the golden child, Barack Obama, so they played it down. They're not going to play it down for this guy. But I can imagine what people in prison might be thinking in the face of this coronavirus. What's going to happen to them? What if it is something like the zombie apocalypse and everybody's dropping dead? Where does that leave them? In the situations that I had to deal with, wasn't really dealing with a pandemic such as that. But when I was incarcerated during some very interesting times, not only was I in there for 9/11, but I was in there for Y2K. I was also in there for the planet alignment of 1998. I was in there for the end of the Mayan calendar, December 22nd, 2012. All these things that were used as fear tactics to scare the public from a bunch of buffoons that probably didn't know what the fuck they were talking about in the first place. Scaring the shit out of people to the point of being panicked, and there was no goddamn top ramens left in the canteen. Let me tell you about the first one, the planet alignment, and how it's going to rip the Earth right out of its orbit. And we're going to go hurtling into space. I don't know if any of you remember that, but for some people that study like astrology and all that shit, astronomy, whatnot, we heard about this. I had a cellie that was preparing for the end of that. It was pretty scary to think about it. I think I even had a dream about it. Of course, I was a lot younger back then. After that one came and went, I was ready to tackle on Y2K with complete confidence that nothing was going to happen. But I had a cellie. He's older than me, so you couldn't tell him shit, really. And I didn't really want to tell him nothing, but it was interesting to watch this guy write out his memoir to the world because it's over with. The first thing I had to ask him, I'm like, say, homie, who's going to read that fucking thing? Who's going to read it if we're all dead? He was also stocking up on all kinds of shit, man. He was getting packages in 3 people's names. He was max drawing 140. We had wall-to-wall shit, man. I thought I was in a cell full of fucking doomsday preppers. Finally, December 31st, 1999 came. It was about noon or somewhere there around there. And I told him, I said, hey, bro, you realize, man, that it's already Y2K in most of the world right now. That we're the last place on the planet that gets hit with it, right? So don't you think if the world was going to end, it would have already started? He's like, no, you're wrong, man. It's no. I'm telling you, it's already the year 2000 in almost the rest of the world. Half of the world has already experienced Y2K. and nothing's happened. Russia's already experienced it, and that's the place they were worried about the worst. Missiles just launching in all which fucking directions, you know what I mean? It's already came and gone through Moscow. I think we're going to be okay. Hey, but this dude wanted to argue with me all the way to the end until he finally figured out once it hit the East Coast and still nothing happened. It was an hour later. It was just getting ready to hit Dallas at this point, and still nothing happened. He's like, hey, we're going to be okay, huh? We're really going to be okay. I'm like, yeah, we're going to be okay. This motherfucker kept me up all night with this shit, man. I didn't care about it. It was like, if it came, it came. What am I going to do about it? There's nothing I could do about it. There's that. Imagine being through that stress. And he wasn't the only one. There was a lot of people that were tripping out inside of there. They're gonna shoot us all. They're gonna kill us all. They're not gonna shoot us. If they were to gas us, I would say that they probably gas half of the place and then give up and run themselves. Fuck this shit. I'm going home. And who knows what building they would start in? They could start anywhere. They don't have no real routine when they're doing stuff like that has a negative effect on the population. The truth is there really is no policy in that. They say execute everybody. They say do nothing. Nobody really knows what it is. But the one thing that I do know is that if something like the shit really hit the fan, like in this day and age right now, with everything that's going on, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near a jail cell. It's just the heat is too polarized in this country in a lot of different ways. People have drawn their lines in the sand and are taking sides, man. It's just like on the brink of some shit jumping off. And wait till you see the next video that I got for you about gun control. You're going to trip out on that one because it has an interesting history on how it was established and how it was started and why. What the reason they used, the excuses they were using. And it's the same excuses they're using today. But yeah, man, Y2K came and went. Nothing happened. 9/11. This was the interesting one. So I didn't exactly know what was really going on. I was in Wasco reception on the D yard. And of course, when you're in reception, anybody who's anyone that's been in California knows, you're not really coming out of that cell much at all. Maybe a little bit here and there, but you're locked in that bitch most of the time. But you got a few of them trustees that are running around out there that are fortunate enough to be out there. And then you got 2 TVs that are in there. You got one TV that's on one side, and then the whole building cuts off into the next area, which you got A and B. It's split right down the side, and one TV in there, and then the other TV's on the other side. That TV, if you're fortunate enough to be close to it, you can see what's going on. I don't remember exactly what I was doing. But I do remember my cellie saying, hey, man, did a plane just crash into the fucking World Trade Center? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like what? Like a little plane, like a little Cessna, some shit like that, some small? No, an actual plane, man, like a jet. I'm like, well, what kind of a jet? And there's all kinds of jets. It was like a Lear jet or what? Like, no, one of them big passenger airliners. I'm like, no way, really? And we out there, we're both looking at the glass, looking at the TV, and then boom, the next one hits. Now, that was some crazy-ass shit. Next thing you know, the COs are locking up the trustees, and then there's nobody coming out. This country's under attack. But they didn't all just like drop gas down into the vents. They didn't kill us all, shoot us all, or nothing like that, but we were locked in there for a minute, and it was scary for a brief second. because we had no idea what was going on. All of a sudden, blip, they turn the TV off, and you don't have no radios in there, so you don't have any idea what's going on. You're completely oblivious. You can imagine that everybody's looking out their windows hoping they could spot something that's going on. Some missiles dropping, something happening, paratroopers landing, whatnot. We didn't know what was going on. We had no idea. TV gets turned off. There's no radios in there. There's no CO anywhere. Then every now and then you could hear the people yelling through the door, CO, CO, CO. Hoping that they could catch like some kind of idea of what's going on. You got my neighbors that are next door that are trying to tie their mattresses together and put it up in front of the door. They're not going to come in here and shoot us. At least we're going to fight them off. What good is that going to do? You know? But yeah, man, it was a trip. That was like the worst one. Being in there during 911, 9/11, 911. And it was 911 wambulance on that tier. People were whining. CO! CO! Over here! Mail didn't come, nothing, man. It was a fucking ghost town. For a second there, we thought they did just take off and leave us. We thought we were all going to die in there. But that was about until later on that night during count time when the CO came by, and he couldn't even really do his count. People were stopping him at the door everywhere he went. He wasn't trying to hear it. After about 3 or 4 cells, he's like, man, I got to do this count. We'll come back and talk to you about it later. They never came back and said nothing. We still didn't know what was going on. I didn't really know what was going on until I got a letter from my family that told me what had happened. That it was a terrorist attack. So it wasn't like the Russians or the Chinese or anybody attacking us. So I'm like, oh, it's just some fucking bullshit-ass, hole-in-the-wall, dumbass terrorist. That ain't really nothing. But nothing happened and made it out in one piece. But, I mean, that didn't deter me, man. I ended up going back to prison again after that 2 more times for 2 different cases. Multiple violations. So I always tell people the main thing is not to panic. If you're going to be in the criminal game, just don't panic, man. If you can't expect to, the worst, and you can't deal with the consequences that could possibly happen, a million things can go wrong. A major earthquake can hit California and devastate almost the whole entire state. What do you think is going to happen to you? You think the guy that has a wife and kids is going to worry about your ass? He's out of there. This should be motivation enough for somebody to want to stay out. I mean, working at McDonald's can't be that bad. If you're making minimum wage, then you're only making 8 cents by making the same burgers in some prison culinary service. In light of this whole coronavirus thing that is going on that's got everybody tripping out, I was in Walmart yesterday. There was no toilet paper in there. What the fuck does toilet paper got to do with this virus anyways? So it doesn't matter like if you're in prison or if you're out here in a major disaster that's going on, in a national emergency or whatever, some kind of an outbreak, it doesn't matter where you go because it's everywhere. So you can prepare for it, but understand that even your best preparation could mean that you're dead anyways. So why go through life worrying about all these things? Just live your life, man. And if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. I constantly get telling people to take airborne, to wear gloves, masks, and all that shit. I refuse. I refuse to be a part of this. Let's shut the government down bullshit because we don't like who's in the White House. I refuse to be a part of it. If I die from this thing, whatever, then I'm dead. But I'm not going to sit here and, put myself in a biosuit walking around the city. I actually seen somebody wearing a whole bio mask and gloves all the way up over his sleeves and everything in the store the other day. You got to be fucking kidding me, man. I felt like ripping it off and coughing in his face. Jeez, man. Main thing is not to panic. Whatever happens is going to happen. You could do all this stuff. Lock yourself in your house to avoid the coronavirus or any other national emergency, and guess what? You go to take a bite off of that frozen burrito and it gets lodged in your windpipe and you don't know how to get it out, you just drop dead right there. Or you can have a brain aneurysm and just drop dead. Just live your life. Don't worry about this shit. That's what I told my last cellie, man, when going through that Y2K. It's what I tell everybody at any moment in time, and people that contact me that are inside. I tell them, well, don't worry about it. When you get out, stay out, man. If you're that worried about that kind of shit, stay out. Because it ain't worth going through that kind of stress. That kind of stress will just kill you more, faster than any virus will. And you heard it right here. Prison Break Raw, uncut, uncensored, no holds barred, non-sugarcoat, non-politically correct, all up in your face, slapping you with that dick of reality. And I'm out.